Now, from Nebraska's trusted news source, this is Channel 8 News at 5.
Coming up tonight, the debate continues over placing bets on the Huskers when they play games at home. We'll take you down to the Capitol to hear what was said.
Plus, the latest on the 3 unidentified objects that were shot down by U.S. fighter jets over the weekend.
But first tonight, a new multi-million-dollar sports complex is coming to Lincoln. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. Some good news for kids here in the capital city who want to be involved in sports.
Today, the city voted to move forward with the agreements for the construction of the Lincoln Youth Sports Complex. And Channel 8's Veronica Barreto joins us now, live here in the studio with more on the impacts it is expected to have for the city of Lincoln. Veronica?
Lincoln is getting closer to having a new sports complex for young people. Developers say it will bring people from all over the U.S. as it will be home to national tournaments. The Lincoln Youth Complex will be built on the southeast side of North 1st Street and Cornhusker Highway. That's north of Oak Lake Park. The 2015 Visioning Group is the nonprofit behind the development. It is the same nonprofit that developed the Pinnacle Bank Arena. Developers say it will help Lincoln move forward and attract and retain families.
It's going to be a game changer for Lincoln in regards to the economic development it's going to bring to our community, from teams coming in town, staying in hotels, spending money on restaurants, going to all the shops, visiting the Haymarket as well. It's definitely going to be a big boost to our community during these times in which we play baseball and softball.
The new complex will cost $27 million, with funds coming from the public and private sectors. Construction is set to begin this spring, with completion scheduled for the late fall 2024. I'll have more on what exactly will be at the park coming up at 6 o'clock.
I'm sure a lot of people excited about this one. Thank you so much, Veronica. Now, new details about a deadly crash here in Lincoln that happened on Friday night. Police have identified the victims. We're told 47-year-old Laura DeVries of Ogallala died from her injuries.
She was the passenger of an SUV that rolled into a field next to Hibner Stadium near 14th and Cornhusker. Police say the driver, 47-year-old David DeVries, is still in the hospital. They say he exited Cornhusker but then went across 14th Street, hitting a power pole, and came to a stop in that grassy area east of the ramp. And this afternoon, a driver was trapped after a two-vehicle crash.
That's right. It happened at the intersection of 56 and Vine. As you can see, it caused a pickup to land on its side right there. Rescue crews had to extricate the driver. They say due to the size of the pickup and the position of it, it was a little difficult to cut the roof off to get the driver out.
When you're crawling around a vehicle, you got to be a little careful on how you approach it. And as I said, before they even started, they stabilized it. They had a tree, as it would be, right behind it they were able to hook to, and we have some stabilizer bars on the other side. Try to make the vehicle safe so when somebody does have to crawl up and get higher on it and work overhead, they eliminate some of those dangers.
Officials on the scene say both drivers involved in the crash were taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Police are still looking into what exactly caused the crash.
And authorities are also investigating a morning crash. It happened near 27th and Old Cheney around 6:45 a.m. Multiple lanes were impacted, slowing traffic in the area. Right now, there's no word on what led up to the crash or if anyone was seriously injured. Our Channel 8 crew saw a pickup on the sidewalk, and of course, that car right there had a lot of front-end damage. An Omaha man was arrested following a pursuit and a stolen car.
They say during the pursuit that happened in Omaha, 29-year-old Daryl Boyer ran into a state patrol car. Now, the trooper was not seriously injured, but the impact did disable the cruiser. Boyer is facing a number of charges, including assaulting an officer and flight to avoid arrest. All right, some crime news now. Out in Grand Island, a teenage boy is facing several charges after stealing a car and running from police.
They say the teen took the car to a local convenience store last night and later took off when police caught up to him. He was found hiding behind a building. The teen admitted to causing damage to the vehicle after hitting an electrical box. He's being charged with 2 counts of flight to avoid arrest and leaving the scene of an accident.
And back in Lincoln, police say 28-year-old Nathan Shepard is in custody after tackling an officer. LPD says he tried to run as they were serving him warrants early this morning near 17th and Sumner. He faces third-degree assault on an officer along with several other charges. A rally is happening now in support of the Mesquite Prayer Camp.
The group has been trying to stall a housing development project for months now on what they call sacred land near Wilderness Park. During public comment today at the City Council meeting, some made a point to show they feel they've been silenced. The prayer camp was joined by 2 other nonprofits this afternoon at the County City Building off of 10th Street and also protested outside the council meeting. Last week, construction began on the site of the Native American Sweat Lodge, despite days of protests from the prayer camp. It also led to multiple arrests for trespassing. The group says it hopes it can take further legal action in the future. Covering Nebraska's roads now, AAA is working to get drivers to move over for vehicles with their hazard lights on.
Right now, state law only requires motorists to move over for first responders and tow trucks. AAA says they're beginning conversations with state lawmakers. Their plan is to introduce a bill in the legislature to make necessary changes to help their efforts. AAA Nebraska says Nebraska loses 8 people each year to a roadway crash when they've pulled to the side. Also at the legislature, food security was on the table today.
Free meals were provided during the height of the pandemic for students, but that program has since ended, and one senator wants to bring it back. Channel 8's Jatine Tinsley has more details. Jatine?
That's right, Megan. The Community Eligibility Provision Act allowed students free breakfast and lunch during the height of the pandemic. And now that that's expired, food security advocates have come out in droves, touting the need for student access to meals. In Nebraska, 42% of Lincoln High School students use the free or reduced lunch program, while 48% of middle schoolers participate. Elementary age kids come in at half, with 50% of them relying on schools for meals. Voices for Children representative and teacher Amahi Salazar says when children didn't have to worry about paying for lunch, it was noticeable in the schools.
When the community eligibility provision went into effect where I was working, you could feel the shift in school cafeteria culture. No one was worried about when they were going through the lunch line. Kids were able to be kids, excited about the strawberry milk that was in stock. They grabbed their trays and sat down to eat a meal with their peers. I never had to hand out another slip of paper to a student or family that told them they were owed money.
A representative from the Nebraska Nurse Association testified at the hearing and said studies show children who have access to school meals show increased test scores along with a decreased need for disciplinary action. Now, there was one person calling for an amendment to the bill, and before he would support the passing of the Hungry Free Schools Act, we'll have more on him when we return tonight at 6.
Sounds good, Jatine. Thank you very much. In another room of the Capitol building, the General Affairs Committee listened to Bill 168, which would allow sports betting on Husker home games.
As it currently stands right now, you can place a bet on Nebraska games when they are played outside of the state, but not while they're here at home.
LB 168 seeks to increase consistency in our gaming regulations by allowing Nebraskans to wager on all Nebraska collegiate sporting events, regardless of where they are being played.
You might remember in 2020, Nebraskans voted to expand gambling, but a late amendment was made. It allows sports betting at Nebraska casinos as they open, but college home games for Nebraska are off limits. Supporters want you to be able to bet no matter where the team is, but opponents argue betting on home games will influence young players that have enough pressure as it is without outside factors from fans.
The only thing this accomplishes is that it pushes bets to Iowa on those days when we've got a big Husker game or something like that. And frankly, the weight is going to fall on that poor clerk that's taking the bet, and somebody's going to get angry about why they can't place a bet, and they don't have anything to do with it.
There are at least a dozen other states who have authorized sports betting but prohibit gambling on in-state college teams playing in-state. So this is not a new or novel approach, it's a reasonable protection. To quote NCAA President Mark Emmert, our highest priorities in any conversation about sports wagering are maintaining the integrity of competition and student-athlete well-being.
The Nebraska Racing and Gaming Commission came in speaking neutrally about the bill, saying the capacity is there for Nebraskans to bet on home games and they would be prepared for it.
I don't say this often, but maybe we could have another Monday tomorrow because of how beautiful it was.
Yeah.
Well, that's, I don't, okay, I'll allow it. It's just this once, though. It was an interesting day. Temperatures well into the 60s for many spots, especially in southeast Nebraska, where Lincoln got to 62 degrees. And there's a lot of sunshine out there as well. Here's what it looks like in Beatrice. We have a ton of sunshine. Schoen's Roofing at South 6th Street and Perkins in Beatrice, showing just a wall-to-wall sunshine. Just a gorgeous evening out there as we see these temperatures that are comfortable and will continue to be fairly, well, really mild. I was going to say fairly mild. No, really mild. 58 in Beatrice, 58 degrees also in Wymore, Hebron at 58, Sutton at 57 degrees, 56 in Grand Island. See all that blue right there, though, where it's 30s, 40s, and just barely 50 degrees? There's still snow on the ground in that area. Everybody else has seen their snow melt off if they had any, thus the warmer temperatures. We have a wind out of the south at 5, 10, 15 miles per hour. That's going to increase as the evening progresses. The cloud cover will also increase. You can see that's already starting to happen just to our south and west, but goodness sakes, look at all of that beautiful sunshine. 55 degrees by 6 p.m. We'll see temperatures drop to around 50 by 8 p.m. 10 p.m. increasing the clouds and 46 degrees, and then the chance for rain kicks in as we head through the day tomorrow. I think as early as 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, we'll start to see rain showers. We may even see a thunderstorm tomorrow afternoon before we see a chance for snow in the next couple of days. There's all kinds of things to talk about in a few minutes.
Sounds good, Rusty. Thank you. Now to a follow-up on the Keystone Pipeline spill near the Kansas-Nebraska border. Some lawmakers in Kansas want oil companies to forfeit their tax exemptions when pipelines burst.
Last December, the pipeline spilled more than 500,000 gallons of crude oil. Right now, energy companies that lay pipelines in Kansas get to skip out on the first 10 years of paying certain taxes. But a group of senators want to change that, where the exemption ends immediately if a pipeline leaks. We're learning more about the 3 unidentified objects shot down by U.S. fighter jets over the weekend.
Yesterday, a fighter jet took out an unidentified aircraft over Lake Huron in Michigan that authorities say posed a risk to civilian aviation. A day earlier, the U.S. shot down another object flying over the Yukon in Canada. President Biden also ordering another high-altitude object to be shot down on Friday off the Alaskan coast. A U.S. official says these crafts are believed to be weather balloons and are much smaller than the Chinese surveillance balloon that was shot down off the South Carolina coast 9 days ago.
I want to reassure Americans that these objects do not present a military threat to anyone on the ground.
The Chinese spy balloon was at 60,000 plus, well outside commercial air traffic concerns. These 3 were right on the border of it. So there was a legitimate concern there.
As for why the U.S. appears to be finding more of these high-altitude aircraft, Kirby says it's because the military has recalibrated its radar system to track smaller, slower-moving objects. Officials say the president has called for an interagency team to focus on these types of objects and any potential risks they pose. Still to come on the news tonight, the death toll in Turkey and Syria has now risen over 37,000.
We're going to have the very latest on the devastation right after the break.
First drive to DQ.
Now to the fallout from the devastating earthquake that killed more than 37,000 people in Turkey and Syria. The chances of finding more survivors beneath the rubble fading by the hour.
But glimpses of hope as young children are pulled from the destroyed buildings. Here, an explosion of cheers as rescuers hold up a 6-year-old who was pulled from the rubble after about 178 hours. Did the math, that's just a little over 7 days. People shouting, "God is great." Survivors now face the secondary disaster of homelessness. UN officials meeting today with Syria's foreign minister to discuss ways to get relief and resources into the country. Syrian hospitals are struggling with the amount of patients and the lack of supplies.
We lost a lot of patients because of shortages in medical supplies. If we had them, we could have saved many more lives. This is the biggest disaster we ever had. We dealt with war injuries, but never had to deal with this many casualties at once.
Turkey's foreign minister announcing today the country will open a second border crossing into Syria to allow more aid to flow across the disaster frontier.
Now, your Storm Alert team forecast with Chief Meteorologist Rusty Dawkins.
A lot of people out there wearing shorts and t-shirts today. I wasn't one of them, but I saw quite a few people out there today. Sunglasses too, wall-to-wall sunshine. Just a gorgeous afternoon with temperatures in the upper 50s and still some 60s out there. Southeast Community College at 61 degrees, 59 East Campus, Yankee Hill Road, Airport at 59 degrees for Lincoln, 57 in Friend. You get a little cooler the further west you go because there's still a little bit of snow left on the ground, but it's shrinking day by day. That'll likely stop shrinking as we get towards the end of the week. More on that in a second, but first we just got to look at these temperatures. It's the middle and upper 50s, and it's February. South wind 10 to 15, maybe 20 miles per hour. That will continue tonight, keeping us warm. Temperatures aren't going to fall off too much or too far too fast. We're looking at a steady south breeze at 10 to 20, maybe up to 30 miles per hour overnight. Clear right now, wall-to-wall sunshine, but there are some clouds starting to move in from the south and west. That cloud cover is eventually going to be making its way north and east over the next 12 to 24 hours, and this is just the beginning. Denver starting to see mostly cloudy skies with some precipitation. So lots to talk about here in Stormcast. Lots going on. Cloud cover increases. This is 11 p.m. tonight, maybe even a sprinkle or two. The real chance for rain starts to kick in about right there. This is between 6 and 8 o'clock in the morning. One wave of showers, then another wave, more to the south and west. This all kind of bubbles up. Now what I'm watching, this is the spin of the atmosphere right here. This is 2 o'clock in the afternoon, changing to snow on one side, but on the warm side right here, that line right there could have some thunderstorms in it. Some of them could be on the strong side. So you got strong storms here, and then on the other side, cold air wrapping in with a snow chance. This really feels like a spring kind of storm, really. And then everything kind of moves off to the east, and that's it by Tuesday night. So good portion of the day, good chance for rain, and then it moves out as we head into Tuesday night. But because of that line I was showing you, there's actually a marginal risk for the southeastern, very southeastern corner of Nebraska. Really, Richardson County is about it. Eastern parts of Kansas into northwestern Missouri, a chance for a few strong storms. Precipitation, we'll take whatever we can get. If it's snow, is it rain, fine, whatever. We'll take the precipitation. About a ½ an inch possible in Lincoln, 3/4 of an inch in Nebraska City, Omaha, Grand Island, maybe a little less than that in Hebron, 59 100ths in Norfolk. So eastern half of the state has the best chance for seeing rainfall. Now as we head through and past tomorrow, then we look towards Wednesday. Here's a chance for snow, moves into south central Nebraska Wednesday night and maybe even eastern Nebraska Wednesday night into Thursday morning. Here's the best chance for accumulating snow, which would be Thursday morning before that kicks on out of here. How much precipitation are we talking about? How much snow? Too soon. It's a little early, but it looks like the best chance for accumulating snow will be southeastern and south central Nebraska. Minor accumulations further north and west. Because of this, already starting to see winter storm watches in southeastern and south central Nebraska into parts of Kansas Wednesday into Thursday. So what What a week this is going to be. Temperatures tonight around above the average high, 41 degrees for tonight, increasing those clouds and the wind out of the south at 10 to 25 miles per hour. 48 degrees for a high tomorrow. Rain likely, maybe even a thunderstorm in the afternoon. Southeast wind at 10 to 25 miles per hour. Hey, tomorrow's Valentine's Day. I almost forgot about that. 34 degrees on Wednesday with that chance for snow Wednesday night into Thursday morning. Rain, snow mix possible Thursday, and then just 27 degrees. Then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we start to warm back up again. We get back into the 50s as we get towards next weekend and President's Day, and then another chance for precipitation Tuesday into Wednesday. So kind of getting weather whiplash here with all these different kinds of precipitation out there over the next 48 hours.
Yeah, a little bit. Buckle up, buckaroos. All right. Thank you very much, Rusty. A great day on Wall Street today. The Dow gaining 377 points. NASDAQ is up 174. S&P also adding 47. Here are your numbers. You're watching Channel 8, Nebraska's trusted news source.
This week